Let's talk about a man who basically built the internet you use every single day. A man whose work is in your pocket, on your desk, everywhere. And yet most people have no idea who he is. This is the story of Larry Page. Yeah, the whole story of Larry Page is really just a huge paradox. He created a company that's all about organizing and sharing the world's information, but he protects his own information more fiercely than just about anyone. So that's the real question we're digging into here. How is it possible for one person to have such a massive public impact, but stay a complete ghost in the machine that he himself built? I mean, just look at the contrast. On one side, you've got Google, YouTube, Android. These aren't just products. They're the foundation of our digital lives. And on the other side, a guy who avoids interviews, hates the spotlight, and at times has basically just vanished from public view. To really get it, you have to go back, way back. Back to a time before Googling something was a thing, when it was all just a wild idea in the head of a PhD student who saw the internet for what it could be, not just what it was. You see, Larry Page was pretty much born into the world of computers. Both his parents were computer science professors, so his childhood home, it was just filled with tech and gadgets and big ideas. He was that kid who wasn't happy just using something. He had to take it apart to see how it ticked. And that curiosity, right there, that's the key to everything. So when he gets to Stanford for his PhD, the internet was, well, it was a mess. A chaotic, disorganized digital junkyard. And most people just kind of accepted it. But Larry looked at it and saw a system that was fundamentally broken. He didn't want to just write a paper about it. He wanted to rebuild it from the ground up. And this is where the magic happens. He came up with this brilliant concept called PageRank. Now, before this, search engines were pretty done. They just counted how many times a keyword showed up. Page had a much more elegant idea. What if every link on the web was like a vote? A link from a trusted, important site was a big thumbs up, a sign of quality. At its core, it's a beautifully simple idea. You just treat the entire web like a giant election. Every link is a ballot, and PageRank is the system that tallies all the votes to see what's actually important and trustworthy. This was the idea that would become the engine of Google. And things moved so fast, it's hard to even comprehend. He and his partner, Sergey Brin, took this concept from a research project in '96 to a little company in a garage 2 years later, and by 2004, Google goes public. Suddenly, it's a global titan, and Larry Page is a billionaire. It was an absolute explosion. But for a guy like Larry Page, just organizing the internet was never going to be the end game. Once search was more or less solved, his ambitions went into overdrive, pushing way, way beyond what Google was originally meant to do. He drove Google to either buy or build things that would define the next decade. Think about it. Android, putting a computer in every single pocket. YouTube, organizing the world's video. Chrome and Maps, completely changing how we browse the web and navigate the actual world. After a while, even a company as huge as Google started to feel too small for his vision. He became obsessed with moonshots, these radical, futuristic ideas that didn't really fit in a business that sold online ads. He needed a new kind of sandbox to play in. And that sandbox became Alphabet. It's this massive parent company that's basically a home for world-changing ideas. We're talking self-driving cars with Waymo, crazy medical research at Verily, cutting-edge AI with DeepMind, even beaming internet down from high-altitude balloons. These weren't just new products. They were bets on the entire future of humanity. And that's because, deep down, Larry Page was never really a corporate suit. He was always that same kid taking things apart in his living room. The only difference was that now, the things were entire industries, and the parts were billion-dollar companies. His real job, as he saw it, was to invent the future. Of course, you can't build something that powerful, that woven into the fabric of our daily lives, without casting a very long shadow. All that success with Google and Alphabet came with a whole lot of controversy and criticism. Governments and critics started raising the alarm about, well, everything. Widespread data tracking, acting like a monopoly, using clever schemes to avoid taxes, and the whole time the company was being led by a man who valued secrecy above all else. And the pressure wasn't just coming from the outside. Internally, his private nature started to become a real problem. He developed a vocal cord issue that made speaking difficult, and employees apparently started complaining that they never saw their own CEO. The man who connected the world was becoming disconnected from his own company. And this quote from him really says it all. He was, at heart, a quiet, introverted inventor who somehow ended up running one of the most famous and scrutinized companies on Earth. It was a job he was never really built for. So what do you do when you're the reluctant CEO who's had enough? Well, you don't just retire. You step back, and you go right back to doing what you love, inventing. So he's quietly stepped away from the day-to-day grind at Alphabet, handing the reins to others. And in a way, he's come full circle. He's not the public face anymore. He's back to being the quiet visionary, working on projects that the world probably won't even understand for years. But don't ever mistake quiet for irrelevant. His influence is still absolutely immense. He's consistently one of the richest people on the entire planet, which means he has the resources to fund pretty much any idea he can dream up.
And now, his focus is on those huge, audacious ideas. He's pouring his time and his billions into things like clean energy, bold new science, and other projects aimed at the distant future. He's still building the next world. He's just doing it almost entirely in private this time.
Because at the end of the day, that's the one thread that connects his entire story. From that college dorm room to his private ventures today, his guiding principle has never changed. Technology exists to solve our biggest, hardest problems. And that leaves us with one last massive question to think about. We have a genius who already rewired our world once, and now he's off building the next version of it behind closed doors. So when the future is being designed in private, who gets a say? Who's looking out for the public's interest? What does that mean for the rest of us?